Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 173 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. No Trev tonight, no Stoner tonight, both out for very good reasons. Trev is in the midst of graduation season. I believe VMI is Virginia Military Institute is graduating today, so he's taking care of business, getting that bread. So we congratulates all the VMI graduates, and make sure you tip Trev as best as you can. Get drunk, forget that you owe student loan money, and just give it all to Trev. That's what we need you to do there down at VMI. And then Stoner planned on being here for this show. He was eager to talk about the schedule. He's not going to be here. He is stuck commuting. If you didn't hear, the MARC trains collided with an individual. And so he is stuck trying to get back home. So we won't have him, but we do have a special guest. We have Hot Take Freddy joining us for just a little bit. He promised, 20 minutes. We'll see if we can't get him a little bit longer. And of course, we stream live every Wednesday, and you get to be a part of the conversation here as well. So we have already had Jared talking to himself, Gus coming in, Locked on Law here as well. We have Brian, I think I saw there earlier. Kashmir is in the house saying, just want to know if we start home or away. We are going to be talking about the schedule during the game. We'll talk about camp in the cool down and some drama llama. A lot of drama surrounding the team still, even after a new owner, a new GM, a new head coach. We thought that black cloud was going to be gone, but our focus still seems to be on things that just don't matter. We're going to be talking about that with our special guest today. Kevin, what's up? Appreciate everybody joining us as we do stream live every Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, you can also listen to it on your favorite audio podcast as well. Wherever you get your audio podcast, just make sure you leave us a rating and review. Now with 90% of the housekeeping done, I still have to read a Bet Online ad, but we'll get to that later. Let's bring on the man himself who did confirm we have him for 20 minutes. So let's make sure we use his time wisely here. Let's give a round of applause to our man, Hot Take Freddy. Freddie, you used to be a fantastic content creator for our Washington franchise here. We appreciate you taking the time tonight, jumping on with Ref the District here. Now we can all find you on the platform formerly known as Twitter as Hot Take Freddy. So I trust you have all the spicy takes for us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me and my son on.
Hey.
But I did the pod thing for a long time. I was kind of in on sort of like the ground floor of that. Like I remember back when there wasn't a whole lot of creators in the space, when it was just us, Burgundy Zone, DC Tweet Team Pod. That was Andy Burroughs' original pod. Shout out to Andy. He's great.
Yeah,
and there were just a few now, and now there's many. I love to see everybody doing it. Everyone's got their own little spin. Everyone's got their, unique take on things. So it's awesome. I especially love yours. So I appreciate you having me on. But make no mistake, I still create content. I just do it in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah, no, it's you're a fun follow, and you've gotten yourself in your own little bit of drama regarding some of the drama that's happened surrounding the team here, which is why I think you're a perfect person to talk about some of this. Freddie, it's just insane to me that our focus is on things that are just asinine, right? Like jersey numbers, on the head coach wearing a shirt with a W and a feather, and you got the offensive coordinator with a hat that's literally just sun protection, and people make like mountains out of molehills with this. Why do we do this to ourselves?
I mean, it's just what we do, man. I just think that it's a combination of a lot of things, but I think this fan base has just been so starved for anything good on the field, and we're just so used to all of the crap that we have to deal with off of the field. And right now, so the draft's over. We had the whole build up to that. You got rookie minicamp, you got OTAs. There's not really a whole lot to talk about. You know what I mean? Like we got to talk about something. And the name issue, it's always going to be a hot button thing. And Dan Quinn came out.
Left out the whole name issue.
Dan Quinn had no clue. And I think, it speaks to the craziness of the fan base that, Dan Quinn had no clue what was going to happen with him wearing that shirt. I'm sure he couldn't believe it when it was explained to him what it started. I'm sure he went like, what? It was a shirt. Yeah,
he said it was a great lesson, as how he called it, because it did. I mean, it went just from like a couple reporters kind of noting the shirt to social media taking it as the team is going to come back, and this was a plant from the ownership, and then it was like, no, pump your brakes. That's not what's happening. To then some backlash for why wouldn't you bring it and back the name or use it, and you did some mock-ups with the feather. And I mean, what I got the Redskins logo behind me. You can't see it on the current screen, but it's back there. I mean, I love the old imagery. I love the everything about it. That's what I grew up with. That's what you grew up with. That, in fact, happy belated birthday, by the way. Freddie's birthday was earlier this week, so I know that's what we grew up with. But it's, to me, I just hate rehashing this. I don't love the name Commanders, but I don't hate it. I just, if they start winning, I don't think anybody's going to care.
Yeah, winning cures everything, right? So that's what everyone's been saying. If we start winning, we start having a championship contender, then everything else will just sort of go by the wayside. I believe that's true. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, the fans that are obviously watching this team, right? That are obviously following everything, but they're still taking the time to sit back and talk about, we need a name change, like it's more important than everything else. I'm not saying that their opinions and how you feel about the team and everything is not important. But I just think we got bigger fish to fry, right? I think everybody feels that way. And I hated Commanders when the name was initially announced. I didn't like it at all. It's grown on me. I feel like it's anything else. The longer you sit with it, and again, winning will endear you to the name, right? Mm-hmm. And one argument that I've made, and there's a lot of different ones, but one that I've made in particular on Twitter, X, whatever, is, are these names really that good, or are we just familiar with them? You know what I mean? Like all of the animal names. Is Bears a good name? Is Dolphins a good name?
Yeah, Dolphins playing football.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I even talked about how, and someone said, oh, but they gave the explanation for how the Los Angeles Chargers got their name, and it had some specific meaning to it. Sure. But I put out a graphic last week. If the Los Angeles Chargers never existed and they were an expansion team this year, the phone charger memes would be in full effect everywhere. People would just be tearing it down.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I mean, you can list a lot of them, right? The Packers, the Browns. People now are used to those names. And yes, they have meanings, right? The Steelers, have meanings to them. But look at even the Guardians out of Cleveland in baseball. That was widely panned, even though that had meaning for the town of Cleveland there when they switched off the Indians. And there's, one of the other arguments we see with this is how Kansas City is allowed to do the tomahawk chop, right? And they have, the arrowhead and all, they still have a lot of that Native American imagery, and they're not being forced to change it. Well, there was a big difference, right? When we're talking about the name Redskin, whether or not you would consider it, racist or vulgar, it's literally talking about the color of person's skin, which that's, Chiefs is not doing that. And so there's some things now. The tomahawk champ, I'm really surprised it's gone on that much. But when you win as many Super Bowls as they're doing, again, it's one of those things that just kind of gets pushed to the wayside. We didn't have that luxury with Dan Snyder, and I owe $1 for the jar for saying his name. But we didn't have that luxury, right? In the last 3 decades, we've been an awful team. And the amount of pressure since the last Super Bowl had only been growing. And yes, that we have people in the comments here, talking about how the push started coming from the sponsorship. And that was really the thing, right? I mean, money talks, especially when you're a failing franchise under the former owner. Now we have a congressman, Freddie, as Doug here mentions, that's trying to block the movement for Washington football to get back into DC without some sort of acknowledgement of the old logo. Without getting too far into the political side of it, what do you make of the congressman from Montana getting in here and trying to stop DC football?
I think it's just utterly asinine. What does that even mean? Like, he's saying that he wants the old logo to be, what do you say, recognized, or?
Yeah. Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
trying to get the
I'm like,
old
what?
logo to kind of have some kind of meaning.
I
I
mean,
guess the
it has,
family.
but this is
Yeah.
the thing. It has meaning. It has meaning. Those of us who are longtime fans of the franchise know the meaning behind the logo. People outside of the fan base who aren't fans of the team don't give it. Can I curse on this show? Don't.
You can curse, not maybe keep it a little low,
All
but you
right.
can curse.
All right. People that are not fans of this franchise, they don't care about the logo. Who are we trying to bring attention to about the logo? And all this talk about how we're erasing Native American imagery from our culture and all that. And then I know that because I read that the Wetzel family, which that's where the logo
Mhm.
comes from, wanted to have some dialogue. They were upset with the way everything worked out when we switched the name and dropped the logo right away. The problem with all of this, and I actually think that I think it's a decent point. I mean, I would like to see the logo used on like throwback uniforms. Like the Houston Oilers Titans uniform, or just the old school logo, the old logo for the Pats uniform, the Broncos uniform, all of that. I'd like to see that, but it's so closely tied to our name. I don't know how you would be able to do that. So someone's always going to complain. But yeah, it's completely politically motivated. I mean, he's a senator. He wants to get up here and he wants to be able to tout about this or that. You know what I mean? And you see the side of the political spectrum, for not all, but for the most part, that are most vocal about the name and want to go back to the old name and talk about the name change, what side of the fence they sit on, versus people who have sort of embraced the new name, or at least just just moved on and said, hey, I'm not going to fight for the old. And then there's a sector of the fan base that agrees with a lot of the reasons why the name got changed. I mean, there's a lot of nuance there, right? And yeah, it just continues to perpetuate this idea that the old name and the old logo should be around or can be around. And it's come at a bad time because we've been talking about this and this whole feather gate, and then it coming up again. But I'll tell you one thing: whatever the ownership needs to do in order to make sure that that bill passes, I mean, if they have to placate and do whatever, then whatever, do it. But yeah, it's just a politically motivated move. He wants to he wants to get some attention for himself, and he wants something that he can stand on. So
Yeah,
that's all
definitely
that's
trying to
happening.
score some political points. Even though he's from Montana, this gives him a little bit more of a national base. This also plays really well to the Republican base. If you go against the woke ideology and everything, which we've been called woke here on the channel, strictly because I've said how I don't care about this name debate. I want it to be done with. It's just something I don't really care about. Now, D'Angelo here, focus on the topic. The topic isn't changing the Commander's name. The topic is bringing back the logo. And the Wenzel family met with the front office of Washington, and the reports came out that meeting went well. But then you still have the congressman from Montana who is still looking to block this. So I don't think that they've came to agreement, because if something went well, if the family's like, yeah, I think that conversation went well, but there's still nothing there. And that there was asked, like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a written agreement? And he was like, I'm not a lawyer. I have an engineering degree. Meaning, again, it's just some political grandstanding. The logo's probably not going to come back. They could release it. My biggest gripe through all this, Freddie, is this here from Brian, right? So they not only dropped the logo, they dropped the name, and they dropped the support for Native communities. The only reason you had a billionaire trying to give out money to the Native Americans was because it was pacifier money, right? Like, it was just like, hey, take this little hush money, if that's what you want to call it. Just take this because we want to keep this name and everything. And you can sit there when the Washington Post has a poll going around, say that, yeah, you support the name, type deal. Unfortunately, with all this change, that everything is dropped. There's no more like Redskins Foundation provided from the organization, and none of that happens. And now I'm in Oklahoma, and so I really feel like that's the biggest downside to me. It was just like, you not only did you stop doing it because, and you list all these reasons as an organization, But then you'd stop the thing that you could have continued doing in support of. And of course, with a name like the Commanders, you don't have any tie now to Native American history and stuff like that. So it's just, to me, that was the part that bugged me. But that logo is not going to come back. The feather, which we have up here, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have that W there. Some people have talked about buying the shirts. That is probably even more annoying than the conversation itself, Freddie, is the amount of bots on Twitter that literally all you have to do is mention anything Washington Commanders, use the hashtag raise hail, and there's like 40 bots that'll come telling you this is where to buy the shirt. I've never bought something so fast.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, that's even more frustrating. So back to the original question here. You talked about how this is really just the kind of the doldrums, right? We're just getting into training camp, draft is over, and really our minds are just kind of like, we don't have anything else to talk about as a fan base. But it seems like even when we did, right before the draft, the fan base was finding things to argue with and talking about, we had talked on this channel here about the lack of trust for Adam Peters because they weren't going to take their guy, right? The Maniacs were so upset with Jayden Daniels being picked. It just seems like we still haven't gotten out of that black cloud that we've had for decades. Is it just as simple as winning football games? Is that what's going to get that black cloud away? Because we just keep generating our own drama.
I think it is all contingent upon whether or not Jayden Daniels has success and has real success and has sustained success. Just because we've seen this movie so many times and we've seen front office people come in. And I remember Scott McCloughan was supposed to be the dude that was going to kind of turn around. And then Ron comes in. It's this coach-centered approach. He's gonna rebuild the culture and he's gonna build a team, and it's gonna be like the way the New England Patriots do it. But sorry, it's not Bill Belichick. It's not the same, right? With the Adam Peters thing, yeah, I mean, I knew that the faith in him would die down super fast. I didn't expect it to go quite the direction that it did in the draft. But the crazy thing about all this is whether you were team Drake May or team Jayden Daniels or team someone else, McCarthy or whatever. I mean, everybody was really excited when he got hired because we all collectively said, okay, the organization is serious about having a real personnel department, some real talent evaluators who know what they're doing. Everyone said that Adam Peters is a great talent evaluator. He'll build the front office on that end. He'll do it the right way, the personnel department, scouts, everybody. And all of a sudden, like right after that, we're going to go, but no, we don't trust this guy. I still know better. I'm the person who can pull up highlights on YouTube and run a mock draft on mockdraftsimulator.com. I know so much better than Adam Peters. What was really crazy about the whole thing was Jayden Daniels was my guy the whole time, and I was hoping would take him. And the big story was, is it JD or is it Drake May? And I didn't really even agree that it was like that all the time. But, I mean, Adam Peters made the pick that everyone's praising, and we know what's happening with the Drake May pick now. Only time will tell. They have to play. They have to prove it on the field. But if you go by how everyone's responded to the draft that we had, I mean, it looks like Adam Peters is doing a good job. And again, the proof's in the pudding. But, yeah, I mean, this is Washington, D.C., man. This is the Redskins football team Commanders. It's always going to be this way. And just wait until Jayden Daniels throws his first interception and everyone is saying that Sam Hartman should be the quarterback because that's the most popular guy in D.C. is the backup quarterback.
You're not wrong. Yeah, no one's going to be calling for Marcus. That's for certain. People will be like, we should have drafted Sam and instead, or not get rid of the other Sam Howell. Freddie, I know we're coming up here on the 20-minute timer here, so I wanted to again appreciate you giving your time here. We're going to be moving on to the schedule for the game. I'm going to let you go because you do have somewhere to go. But give me your thoughts. The schedule hasn't officially dropped yet. We still got 10 minutes for that. But give me your thoughts real quick on the Washington schedule as you know it now.
Yeah, I had only had time to kind of just look at a couple of like the little bit of the leaks throughout the day. I was really just focused on finding out what we're going to do week one or week two home opener. And we all know it's going to be week two is the home opener against the Giants. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there with a big group, including a lot of the UK guys are going to come over. We did it last year. It's going to be a blast. So if you're coming to the home opener, make sure you come over to the red zone lot and say hey to all of us. It's going to be a great time. But I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not getting Thanksgiving, nor are we getting Christmas. I kind of feel like the Commanders Cowboys should be the Thanksgiving game. Like I don't think it should ever change. I think it should just be that every year. It should be Washington and Dallas on Thanksgiving. But they're playing the Giants. That'll be an interesting game. The Giants, I feel like, are the sort of the biggest wild card in the division because I hate the Giants as much as the next guy, and I really think that Daniel Jones, he ain't that dude. But I don't know. They
have
could
our
play.
number.
They could
How
play
many times
well.
we lost
They
in the
could play
last
high
4 years?
above expectations, or they could, be what we think that they're going to be. It's just. It's always a crapshoot with the Giants. You just you just never know. But with the rest of what I saw of the schedule, opening up on the road, I kind of saw that coming because it was the last 4 or 5 years in a row we opened week one at home, so we were about due. I saw that we are going to travel the least of any team in the league. So I think that helps. I think that's good. I feel like the first bit of the season is going to help a little bit sort of ease us into everything. I know we have divisional game week 2, but if you were going to pick, or if I was going to pick a divisional opponent to take on early in the season, I would certainly take on the Giants. Yeah, because
winnable on paper for certain.
100%.
Now, schedule's officially releasing here in now 7 minutes. So we're going to get through that entirety. Once that schedule's released, you can actually kind of start betting on games. In fact, you can head over to Bet Online, use the code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get yourself a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. If that's too far away for you, don't worry. You got NBA action, NHL action, golf, and all your other summer sports right at your fingertips on Bet Online or their mobile app. Again, use the code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get yourself a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And Freddie, we're going to move on over to the game here. Actually, you said you're going to be headed out now. So everybody say bye to Freddie. When we get to the game, we'll be talking about the schedule more in depth. Again, Freddie, thanks for joining us. You can catch him on Twitter, Hot Take Freddie. Thank you. And like I said, we're going to get to the game here now on Ref the District. Thank you, everybody, for joining the chat here tonight and talking about what games you find important and where we're going to get this schedule. I have the Washington's Commanders Twitter page open, looking forward to their announcement. Right now, they've got this whole Vine thing going on. It's 2024. I'm not sure why we're doing that, but it is what it is. I will say this. Freddie talked about it during the cool down, about how this is just a period of time where we have nothing better to talk about. So we're talking about things. I absolutely hate. It's probably too strong a word. I dislike this buildup around the schedule release. I think that it is the most ridiculous thing in the world. You already know your opponents. You already know who's away, who's at home. All that stuff gets announced months. Now it's literally just what day. So it's important, I think, for people who are going to physically go to the games. I'm not saying there's not importance to this, but overall, this is probably one of the more overhyped things. I just don't understand why people necessarily get all involved in this. D'Angelo trashing the W helmet on there. The schedule hadn't been released. I just used something generic on our YouTube channel that's what it is. But the schedule here is interesting. Freddie mentioned this as well. The Washington Commanders will travel the least amount of any team, only flying 10,550 miles, the Bengals being the next lowest at 10,611 miles. That's a huge boon. The reason for that is, again, the away games and the home games were already decided. So they have an away game with the Cardinals and an away game with the Cowboys. And those are the only ones that are leaving the East Coast, really, because another one of their away games is just up north to Baltimore. So they don't have to do a lot of traveling. And I think that is one of the bigger aspects when we're talking about, how things go in the schedule, right? I think that that's an important factor, is finding out, when the bye week. That's my thing, right? I want to know when the bye week is. I want to know rest schedule. How does Washington compare? That's one of my favorite things to look at after the schedule gets released is, hey, this is what the days of rest are for each of these teams. That's the stuff that I think is important, right? Because when you're playing a Thursday night game and then you don't have to play till the following Sunday, that's a mini bye. But then likewise, if you play Sunday and then play a Thursday game, you got a short week. And there's some statistics going back and forth on whether or not the short week matters or not. But it is one of those things I think that is, to me, feels important. I haven't quite, even though I'm the analytics guy here, I haven't quite gotten on board with short weeks are better or short weeks are worse. There might not matter. What it does matter, I think, is the players don't like it. There hasn't really been that bigger a chance of a risk of injury as far as I know, but it just seems like that rest would be more beneficial. So that is what I look for when I look at the schedule. And we are still waiting for the official schedule. I was trying to find, I'm just probably bring up maybe Hogs Haven. I know that they had a list of the schedule leaks so far. The rumor tracker, Scott Jennings over there on Hogs Haven. We appreciate the work that they do there. So we know the home opponents. We know the away opponents. We know week 1 is rumored right now to be an away game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How are you feeling in the chat right now, Buccaneers, about that game? If the rumor is to be true, how do you feel about the Bucs? We have my guy, former Boomer Sooner, former Heisman, former Brown, former Ram, Baker Mayfield, trying to revive his career out there. The defense, I don't think, is going to be nearly as good as it has been in years past. Baker Mayfield is a wild card. This is Jayden Daniels' first game. Is this a good game to start? Gregory saying it's a W. So is that how you feel about the chat? Is that how you feel about that? Baker about to feel the pain. Not enough information, Justin, right? Like, this is the other thing that I can't really get too hyped about is we don't know how, we still have preseason to go through. We still have OTAs to go through. We still have mini camps to go through. We are pretty hyped right now for Jayden Daniels. And I knew it was going to happen. I called it out last week. That first throw that you see him throwing, people, especially to Luke McCaffrey, people are going to be fawning over him. And that's exactly what happened. TJ thinking it's going to win. Gus Bus thinking it's a very good barometer. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, Bill in Bangkok is another one there, Brian, from the Hogs Haven crew. Deluxe. This is a take I haven't seen, Deluxe, so I appreciate this one. Think an away game is good for Jayden to start the season. Home game week 1 could be added pressure for the first start. Could, but it also could be not a hostile crowd, right? A very supportive crowd. So I think that goes back and forth on there. I know a lot of people were disappointed not a lot. I read some people were disappointed about this matchup because it doesn't seem illustrious. You have Jayden Daniels, who many consider is going to be the savior of the franchise, and his first game is 1 an away game, and then 2 against an opponent who, while they did make the playoffs last year, is not seen as necessarily a strong opponent, right? It's not like I think some people wanted somebody who was either going to be like a powerhouse, and you get to see maybe a Lamar Jackson, right? Or maybe you get to see him up against Caleb Williams, so you get that matchup vibe. Week 4 against the Cardinals, another one, Kyler Murray, kind of having that kind of aspect to it where there's a lot more hype. There's not going to be a lot of hype against, even though both of them are Heisman winners, Baker Mayfield and Jayden Daniels. And so I feel like some people wanted that. But then I think some people also wanted a cakewalk team. For the record, this is Washington. This team won 4 games. There's no team that's going to be a cakewalk for them, at least going into it. I do think that it is going to be something interesting for Washington. I think that one is a winnable game. And I like starting off the season strong. We started off strong under Sam Howell last year, 2-0. Things completely went to heck in a handbasket after that. His first home game is going to be against the Giants. Now, this is actually one that I thought was going to be the finale to the season, was against the Giants, but it's actually going to be the home opener. This is the one that Freddie's going to be at. Freddie is going to be back at. Andy's going to be at. The whole UK crew is coming over. So if you're going to go to that game, make sure you hit those gents up. I'm probably going to still have to be in Oklahoma for a variety of reasons. We'll be streaming all the games live here on the channel. And so this is a game I think that, again, would be nice. Is a good opener for him. Break the habit of losing to them. And Justin's absolutely right. Washington's the cakewalk of the NFL until we prove otherwise. So far, like this, you can say, and I love my saying, right? I love the saying here on the channel, 17-0 until we find out otherwise. This really feels like Washington could be 2-0. Maybe 1-1. We don't know what we have on defense. JG's hoping that the D turns out to be surprisingly good. The schedule is officially out. Let me pull that up because I'm eager to see the official schedule. Oh gosh, we are going to watch the video together too, folks. Fake football. All right, let's get this set up here. We're going to watch this. You're going to see my live reaction to the video that they shared on their Twitter. So let's see here. Is there a way to, let's make this big. All right. So let me stop the screen share and make sure I actually shared the audio. So, cause that's kind of an important thing, right? Also share audio. Perfect. All right, here we go, folks. The Washington Commanders 2024 NFL season video. Last year, Teddy with AI. Not a fan of that one.
I'm Terry McLaurin, and this is our 2024 schedule release.
Okay, so Bucks, as we talked about. Okay, all cake. We just talked about it being a cakewalk. This is fantastic. New York. Okay. We have the Bengals. Oh, that's their sky chili, isn't it? Not cake. Cardinals, week 4. Browns, week 5. Baltimore, week 6. Their cake. You got the Panthers, week 7. I'm not sure. I don't understand the cake, not cake thing. Bears, week 8. New York, week 9.
I'm going to go get me a New York slice.
Okay. Steelers, week 10. Is it cake, not cake? Is this a home and away thing, I guess? Eagles.
Philly cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak on the week there from Cowboys. Yeah, so it's home and away. Cake and not cake, it looks like. And then the Titans. choices were made there. Bye week 14. This is the third week in a row. Week 15, the Saints. 16 is the Eagles. We're going to finish with the Cowboys. Falcons, week 17. And finishing with the Cowboys for the third year in a row. The Cowboys official schedule out there. So yeah, that took me far too long to get the cake, not cake thing. I guess that video's better than last year's, maybe a little bit. But that is the schedule that we're looking at here for now. The Washington Commanders. Yeah, Nathan. Yeah, it took me far too long to get what is the cake, not cake, especially because we literally just finished talking about how teams look at us as a cakewalk. Yeah, week 14 bye late again. And Grimjaw, I agree with you. The late bye is better than an early bye. If I had to choose between the week 14 bye and a week 4 bye, give me the 14 bye. But why can't Washington get like a week 10 bye? You know, I know week 8 is like the week, right? Week 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. Those are like the money weeks. Really, probably 8 and 9 are probably better. But week 14, 3 years in a row is pretty crazy. Yeah, and I agree, Cake, with the am here. Cake has that double meaning like easy. And so it just seemed weird to go with that as far as that one. 2 nationally televised. I'm gonna bring up hopefully the actual schedule here. So let me again share my screen so that way we can see this together and you can take a look at it while watching me and talking with me here. This is the Washington Commanders graphic on this, and unfortunately I can't make it any bigger than that. Preseason: Jets, Miami, the Patriots. You have Monday Night Football against the Bengals. And Thursday Night Football against the Eagles in week 11. Okay, so we have an early Monday Night Football and a middle to late Thursday Night Football. So 2 primetime games, and none of them, I would have put money on it. I would have put $1 on the Bears being a primetime game, but that is week 8 and it is a Halloween-ish game. It's October 27th, but I would have figured that would have been the matchup. And in fact, that one coming that late into the season, week 8, you don't know if Jayden Daniels or Caleb Williams will be there. You don't know how good these teams are going to be. You figured that matchup you want to get in early while there's still excitement over Caleb Williams and still excitement over Jayden Daniels. If both those teams aren't doing well, then at week 8, so maybe the NFL script writers know something that we don't. Tommy, Panthers in Arizona are 4 or 5 games. So the Panthers one is interesting that's a 4 or 5 game because that one is a home game against an East Coast opponent. But the Cardinals one, the week 4 before it, or in week 4, that was going to be a 4 or 5 game because it's the Cardinals, the West Coast time. So that's really like a 1 o'clock game for the Arizona, which is why it's not. So that's why that one's still kind of a normal time for Arizona, not a normal time for us. It is a weird schedule, isn't it, Rennie? It is a weird schedule. So now that we're looking at the schedule here, we know that we have the 4th place schedule, right? This is the easy, quote unquote, the easy schedule for that. What do we feel is the hardest game on the schedule? Are you like Greg here, who doesn't like the Monday Night Football game because that's week 3 against the Bengals, who a lot of people feel are playoff contenders, if not Super Bowl contenders, having been there not too long ago? If Joe Burrow's healthy, this one, as Greg points out, might get beat bad early kind of taken the wind out of your sails, much the same way that the Bills did to Washington week 3 last year. Grimjaw saying the Bengals start slow. Showtime saying that as well. The Bengals start slow. TJ saying the Philly game is the one that he thinks is the hardest game. Coming off the Steelers game, Steelers are going to be an interesting matchup this one, but that Thursday night football game, just like I was talking about, it, when you're talking about a Thursday night game, when you're playing Sunday, like that's a short week. That's going to be a short week. So they're going to go up against the Steelers, do Thursday night football against the Eagles, and then follow it up with a division game against the Cowboys, that is not a Thanksgiving game. We did not get Thanksgiving and we did not get Christmas. I'm just going to bring up the calendar here because 24 November is late, but it's not okay. So the 28th is Thanksgiving. Okay. So it's the weekend before Thanksgiving that we play the Cowboys. Maybe they're overlooking us. Grimjaw looking at the Cleveland and Raven stretch. Going to be tough. They both play great defense. They do have some good defense out there. The AFC North is a tough draw. It's like that's where, when you're talking about Washington having the 4th place schedule, you're also talking about having the AFC North. Now, thankfully, they also have the South, the NFC South, which is an abysmal lot. Okay. The Bucks, okay. They're okay. The Panthers are awful. The Falcons should be improved with Kirk Cousins, but I wouldn't consider them world beaters. And the Saints still don't know where they're going marching in. So it's not so maybe there's some give and take there, but I do think the Cleveland, Steelers, the Baltimore game, like that's going to be a tough stretch there for the Commanders. Russell Wilson is washed, says Locked on Law, not a concern. Yeah. Well, everyone keeps talking about Cincinnati starting slow. I really hope you're not jinxing us. Really hope you're not jinxing us. I would hate to be the one to be Joe Burrow's first electric week 3 game. All right. We don't want that. We do not want that. Let's see. Week 14 bye stinks, but closing out the season, this is actually a part here where and things can be different, but I actually do like finishing out Saints, Eagles, Atlanta, and Dallas. I'm not saying that's an easy stretch by any means, but after the bye, like if you're focused and you're playing good football, like those games matter. Okay. 2 division games, important against the top 2 division teams from the year before, important. Okay. That's a good one. The Atlanta Falcons, if Kirk Cousins should be healthy by then, what's that look like? Dan Quinn revenge game. That one's a good one. Conference games. All 4 of those are conference games. The Saints, I'm just talk bad about them, but they better team than Washington last year. So that one is going to be interesting. Someone who said that we had 4 straight NFC games. Yeah, conference games. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I like that. That could really tell where we are as a franchise this season, is those 4 games. Okay. You go into that hovering around 500 or near 500. Those last games could be make or break for you. And I think that this team, we can really see how much of the Dan Quinn effect, how much of the Jayden Daniels effect with that. I think that would be interesting. Wow, TJ, 10 wins. 10 wins. 17-0 until we find out otherwise. And Trev, when we do get him, he will have the dub video. We'll have that one up. But 10 wins might be a bit lofty. If I were to count 10 wins, we'll go Giants, Cardinals, Panthers. Do I go with the Bears? Do I go with the Giants again? We'll say Steelers, Tennessee. That's 5. Where are we getting 10 wins? Sorry for our audio listeners with a lot of the gaps here, running solo and also trying to hold back a cough. Ooh, Gus, that's not a fun thing to say, Gus. Gus here. Imagine if Jayden starts 2-0 like Hal did, only to finish 2-13 the rest of the year. We'd be so sad. We'd be so sad. Chris predicting an 0-3 start. I definitely don't think that's the case. We'll win one of those games. We will win one of those games. This is it. That's our schedule. That's what we're going to be dealing with. That's what we're going to be looking at. I am very interested to see how this is going to go. We're going to move on from the schedule talk because I really don't see anything else to talk about here with how this looks. So why don't we go ahead and head to the cool down and talk about what we've seen so far in camp. Welcome to the cool down, and definitely not that is supposed to be how that one looks here. It's a fun show. Trev and Stoner both out here for episode 173. Freddie did a great job filling in the warm-up, and we appreciated that. Then we talked about the schedule there in the game. The schedule was brought to you by Don't Sleep Energy. Don't sleep on our Washington Commanders. TJ feeling 10 wins, and if you're that energetic, you might not need Don't Sleep Energy, but if you need to get to TJ's level, head over to don'tsleepenergy.com. Use the code DISTRICT to get yourself 10% off your entire order. Don't Sleep Energy makes you great. Let's talk about camp. The first game being at 425 sucks. Sorry, I said I was going to talk about camp, but I just saw Tommy's comment there that it's going to suck. I don't know that I don't really hate the 425 games. They're 325 here in Oklahoma, so it's not too bad. Finish up, get dinner, perfect. Camp so far, it's exactly what we expected. Rookies looked good. You had some hype going for like the new coaches, positivity coming out there. Some of the drama stuff that was surrounding the t-shirt, the hat, all that other stuff. Like, it's really easy to tune out when you have football stuff to focus on. Great throw to Luke McCaffrey. You have a heck of a one-handed grab from an undrafted free agent who people were worried about. People were worried about him pulling up recently. The one thing I'll say about that is don't get your hopes up for him. He's more than likely going to be a district diamond guy who is someone who we all fall in love with, but doesn't make the roster. Stoner mentioned it in his video. He's got a low relative athletic score, RAS. And to me, that's why he's undrafted. So he could catch everything. I feel like people are going to end up putting him in the same boat that we've seen other bigger bodied wide receivers, which is just convert him to tight end. I don't think that is going to be. I don't think that's going to be. That just doesn't happen as often as people make it out to be. They're doing more exercises involving everyone together. I think that is a huge benefit for this team, right? You saw the SEAL training with them lifting the log together, and however you feel about that particular exercise, what I do like is right now what they're trying to establish for this team is that they are a team. And I think that does pay dividends in there. Gus here. I love how Cosme got wowed by Bobby Wagner picking up the smallest tendencies. We got to be different. And that one's great. Grimjaw, Bobby Wagner, and Luvu going to have this defense playing lights out. I think that is important as JD5 is going to be to this season. and winning these games. And we just looked at the schedule and how exciting it is to watch him in camp and throwing the ball and his clean motion and pretty deep ball, and people comparing him and Drake May already, where Drake May was talked about needing a lot to fix by Mayo out there for New England, and people putting up their throws side by side, and Jayden Daniels getting the ball out quicker and everything. And it's still shorts. It's still, there's no pads. It's just, it's out there. It's a glorified pro day, but it's an exciting time for Washington. And as good as Jayden Daniels needs to be during this time to keep us excited, that defense is what I think is going to win football games. The run game is going to be what wins football games. Jayden Daniels this year needs to be electric. Jayden Daniels this year needs to be steady. Jayden Daniels does not need to be the reason why Washington wins football games this year. And I think that the staff around this will be good. Yeah, people are pretty crazy. All hail here. Brian Robinson would need 1,200 yards for us to win at least 8 games. We still need receivers. Brian Robinson, I do predict to have a better breakout game. The run game will benefit from Jayden Daniels. I've said this a few times. You look at Lamar Jackson, you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at the running games, that when you have a running quarterback, the running backs can feast too. It's not like they get pushed to the wayside. In fact, it makes them even harder because you have 2 people to look after. I think that is I think that's big. I think that's great. We did get that news. Johnny Newton's procedure completed. Looks like it's good. You now know why he slid. He not only had a Jones fracture on his left foot, he actually had another one on his right foot. He played most of the year with the left foot injury, has that taken care of. Now he has the right foot taken care of. The highlight to this is that it's May. We've got plenty of time before the season starts. Stoner's not worried, which is huge. He doesn't like that pick. He didn't like the Newton pick, but he thinks that, hey, it's going to be fine. One of the other things, Stoner, if he were here, that he would tell you about that he loves, how about this? Voluntary camp right now. Everybody's there. Everybody. We don't have a single person staying at home and doing their own thing. There's nobody trying to be like, oh, I got my own trainers, I got my own thing. That is huge. That goes back to that team aspect where you're having them work together. Everybody's trying to buy in. And I think that speaks volumes to Dan Quinn and the staff that are here, that they want to be here. They want to see it. You heard Sam Cosme talk about Wagner and how things are different. And you get that feel, and the teams talk. Other players have talked about it. You got Tressway out there sporting a 10. Poor Kashmir Allen's probably like, man, I'm really going to get cut, aren't I? That man's about to take my number. You never know. It is something that's going to be something to watch. Good things here. So Brian here, less than 3 months for the first procedure on Johnny Newton. This one's not even as bad. So again, tracking to be here for the regular season. I think that's important. I think that's important. All hail, you better show up for the new coaching staff or you're gone. Very true. Very true. That being said, players tend to do their own things. Players tend to do their own things. Yeah, I think that what we've seen so far, I mean, we've seen Jake Fromm released already. Okay, I predicted that he was not going to make the roster. He's been hanging around here for a couple of years as that QB3, sometimes QB4. He's not here. That's gone. I think Driscoll's probably going to be a QB3. Sam Hartman's going to be on the practice squad, but who knows? People love Sam Hartman, not just the ladies. There's a lot of people who are out there thinking Sam Hartman could be even the backup QB. Maybe pump the brakes. Big E, yeah, I'm sorry. I have not showed some love there. Comments are going great. You guys are going crazy, but Big E, I will show you some love here. I'm not intentionally ignoring you. It's just every time I go to find a comment, yours has already been moved up because people are doing a fantastic job keeping me company here. Locked on Law, the line is 6.5 games. Yeah, so I think a lot of people are still talking about the schedule and what we're going to, how we're going to win 6.5 games, right? This is a team who won 4 games last year. And so I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited for the season. I think that we're seeing the things we need to see in camp. You saw a great catch by Luke McCaffrey. Okay. I didn't see who passed the ball, but I saw a great catch from Luke McCaffrey. And those things are exciting. And we want to keep that up. And there's good teams, there's good team chemistry coming about. There's still questions, but we have something that is in there. What role could new wide receiver be in competition for returners? So for those who might not have been aware, Washington did sign former, I'm just going to call him NFL wide receiver. He was with the Falcons, but he was also with Arizona back when Cliff Kingsbury was there. This is Damiere Byrd, signed with the Commanders after a workout. This is a camp body, in my opinion. I don't think that he fits anywhere necessarily on the roster. I think that he's been given a chance because he played with Cliff Kingsbury. So to answer your question, Deluxe, I wouldn't put any baskets. I would not order your Bird jersey just yet. I just don't see him making it. So, but yeah, I think more people had that question, Grim Job, than Brian or Deluxe's question. And that question is who? Let's see. What else have you seen during camp that has you excited? Let me know in the comment section as we go through here. Let me find one of Big E's questions here. We've had several games last year that could have been a W, could have been a 7-win team last year easily, and I feel we improved dramatically. On paper, this is an entirely different team. Big E, you're absolutely right there. On paper, we've talked about this a few times. Adam Peters has changed over this roster. 47% of this roster is new. That number might even increase more after the final cuts to 53. So this is a whole new team. Whether or not it's drastically improved or dramatically improved, as you put, is going to be what happens on the football field. On paper, a whole new team. Looks like there's improvement here. We put a lot of trust in Adam Peters and the staff making these improvements. Some could argue that we've gotten worse in some areas. I would say losing Curtis Samuel makes the wide receiver room worse. Not having a experienced left tackle or a stud left tackle from the draft is not an improvement. The rest of the line has been improved. A lot of people are out on Wiley. That's, so that they're seeing that as a negative, that he's still the right tackle. So I would not necessarily dramatically improved Big E, but I do think that this team on paper has improved. And we had 5 games decided by 1 score or less. That can go either way. That doesn't necessarily, by the way, improve. You had Minnesota one year, I think that they had 13 or 14 games that were all decided by 5 points. They ended up having a good schedule, and then they ended up losing a lot of games the following year. So I don't put a lot of stock into a couple different things. Pardon me. I don't put a stock into playing close games last year. That doesn't matter this year. Also, what doesn't matter is how teams played. So when you look at strength of schedule, right now, strength of schedule is based off of what teams did last year. But that takes out context of what happened and who improved and who didn't improve and who's changing and what happens during preseason. So don't buy into strength of schedule just now, because we're all kind of poo-pooing on the Saints, but Derek Carr might make the Saints a playoff team this year. Or the Titans. Will Levis might just get it this year, might make that Josh Allen type leap. And now all of a sudden the Titans on the 1st of December are a strong game. You know, Dak Prescott, we might be playing whoever their backup, we might be playing Trey Lance come November 24th. And that means that's an entirely different game. So I don't feel like we can really look at strength of schedule for that. Michael asking, do we feel like we improved? Big E saying dramatically improved. I feel we improved. We improved in 2 key areas: coaching staff and QB. You all know I was big on Sam Howell early last year. I was off the Sam Howell bandwagon in the middle of the year before, when Stoner was making videos talking about Sam Howell as him. I was trying to tell Stoner, pump the brakes, because we got some serious concern. Jayden Daniels is a more electric QB than Sam Howell. And I think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be able to unlock that talent, even if I still feel like there's some deficiencies in Jayden Daniels games, which I've been very open and honest about. The sack rate, the scramble rate, not good. But I do feel like that's an improvement. Linebackers is an improvement. Absolutely. Grimjaw and Doug, Cap in here. That's huge. I think that's going to be something that we'll see there. Yeah. Not having Eric Bieniemy, who we were all very excited about this time last year. Remember, and this is Yams talked about this. We've talked about this. Freddie mentioned this in his thing, right? He went through a lot of that list that I said, right? When we hired Scott M, we thought, hey, this is it. We got a GM. We're going to be good. When we had Ron Rivera, people, there was the people who didn't like it because he wasn't a winning coach, but there were people who were like, hey, and Ron, we trust, and this is going to happen. We're seeing the same things over again. We were excited about Eric Bieniemy last year. We thought we were getting the Kansas City offense. This was going to be exciting, an Andy Reid offense. Yeah. And then he ends up calling like 9 running plays in second halves. And that's gone. Cliff Kingsbury, even though he's got a persona, no, he's got a reputation that he's a air raid coordinator. He's going to throw it out there. He does a lot of run plays, and they've been successful on the ground. Not only that, but we got Anthony Lynn. You got Brian Johnson. You got people who I think are really going to make this offense hum. Let's see here. We're going to go with Yams first here. Did I hear about his interception? First throw of 7-on-7s, but apparently he looked really good for the rest of the time. I did hear about Jayden Daniels' interception. Not only did he look good the rest of the time, but the reaction that he had was noticeable for people. Like what I've heard from the beat reporters and from people who are there is that Jayden Daniels seems like a perfectionist. Like when he's going through this process, he wants to be better. It's not that Sam didn't. It's not that Taylor didn't. It's not that the QBs previous didn't. But I like that that's something that we're noticing with Jayden Daniels here, is that he wants to take this time to improve. And I think that's a huge, huge deal. Yeah, Gregory, we've heard this one again too, right? We have adults in the building. We're excited about that. We've said it before. We got burnt before. The burgundy and gold glasses are absolutely up, but that's what we're doing there. Big E, we are actually looking at having people come on the channel. In fact, if I would have had more notice that I would be solo today, Freddie thankfully jumping in. I messaged him this morning on the off chance that I knew Trev wasn't going to be here tonight, but Stoner was supposed to be here. If there's ever a solo show, in fact, actually next week, Trev's supposed to be here. Stoner's going to be out. Maybe we'll find a way to get one of you on the channel for the full show next week. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I'll probably post a graphic and we'll have some sort of pulling a hat. So if you would like to enter that, be excited. We'll have a way for you to join the channel full time. And then you get to answer some of the questions that we have here as well. Things that we will require. You need a good, you need, you don't need this setup, but you will need at least a camera, and I wouldn't say just not a phone mic would be all that I ask. So, but that'll be good. Let's see here. We had some talk about the defensive end room. I'm still not entirely sold on the edge rushing here in Washington. I like the interior part of the line. I love the Johnny Newton pick. I thought that's good. I think that you can get pressure from the center, but I don't think we're going to see gaudy sack numbers. I just don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe, people finally buy into the pressures or matter, but we'll see how that goes. So we'll see how it is. But I do feel like the defense overall has improved. Good things coming out of camps. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to talk more about camp next week as we get stuff. Stoner promised that I was going to do a video on Jayden Daniels. It was supposed to be out yesterday. Chaos in the house. Wasn't able to get to it. Tomorrow, I'm planning on it, but I can't promise it because, again, more chaos. But we will continue pushing out content. And like I said, there'll be a chance for you to join me next week here on Ref the District as we stream live every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We appreciate Freddie for joining in with us on the warm-up. So thank you for that, Freddie. Again, you can check him out at Hot Take Freddie on his Twitter account. Stoner and Trev, we missed you greatly, but we had some great time in the chat. As you can tell, I'm wrapping this up now. So somebody give me a good slogan to finish with before I completely close out. You guys know the drill. It's like until next time, and then you need a fun thing for me to put up there. So do appreciate everybody coming in there. We'll be back next Wednesday, 7:30. If you've listened to this on your audio, please leave us a rating and review. Stoner wants me to hammer that as well. And so until next time, Locked On Law says, I'll buy you a laxative. Push that content out. Be a fan.